Welcome to an AnimalCare software workshop. I'll try and keep track of people that are going to be joining a few minutes late, which is fine. In these days of COVID-19, we're all learning to be a little flexible with our schedules and working with each other and trying to juggle everyday life with work and meetings and everything. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. Going to be going over our new welfare module for animal care software. It's really a powerful tool that you can use. So if we have any current users on here, if you haven't started using the welfare module, certainly going to walk you through some of the steps of setting that up today and answer questions. If anybody here is just kind of checking out the tool and is not a current user, make sure to contact me either during the meetings via chat or afterwards if you're interested in signing up and actually trying out the software for free, including the welfare module. A lot of facilities that have begun using our software started off with maybe like just animals in one section, and we're able to see how powerful the tool is. Animal care software, our history is that we started off as really being a powerful tool for communication and coordination for everybody at your facility, so that everyone's on the same page for communication for your animal care. The best animal care that you can give involves good communication. Everybody knows what's going on, even if they've been off for 2 days. And we really have built a powerful tool for that. But then now putting in some basic information every day and really turn it into managing your welfare. A lot of facilities do welfare management and they do quality of life assessments, or they'll do, quarterly or biannually or annually, like welfare assessments, and they have welfare forms. But really you're missing an opportunity to kind of track the animal's overall welfare on a daily basis. And I understand that you maybe can't do that with every single animal at your facility, but it's certainly something that I think that more and more facilities are looking at doing, because if you set up one of our templates and have the staff use it, it's really very simple to use. So the way we envision most people is they're going to set up their template, and then your staff, all they have to do is fill it out. So I'm actually going to show you the daily report, and that is the first thing that your staff typically would see after they sign in, is this screen right here. And this is the daily report for Asia. Now this is our demo site, and I can give you the login information for the demo site if you don't currently have it, so you can check it out for yourselves. So at the top here, straightforward. You've got the date. You can go backwards and we can review these days just by clicking at them. If you like a kind of a slightly different version of reading your daily reports, we do have a downloadable version that's in a PDF format, where you can simply print it out. When your staff is filling things out, like their medical stuff, they can also include information about this. So here's one, just a kind of a welfare check for this animal as an example. If a medical reminder, you might have a medication that they're checking off, but you can put notes in here. So if I've got this animal here, I can go ahead and I can check off that they took everything. They took 100% or all. If I wasn't the one that gave the medication, of course, I can select who did, and I can add notes in here as needed. And this way, these notes are electronic. If anybody out there has used other software, a lot of times your medical prescriptions and treatments are printed out. When medication is given, you get a paper form that gets sent out to your section, and people actually sign the paper form. That gets sent back, and then, of course, that gets scanned in. Well, it's rather laborious if you can just do it all as one. So you can add notes here. It's going to track who it was given by, but it's also going to track, because I am not Claudia, I don't think I look like Claudia, that who actually gave the medication. So I'm just going to put in here an example of, like, how I did the attachment there. Actually, I just selected from any of my things here, and that actually embeds photos and even videos right in there. So if you're doing a welfare check and you notice that the animal maybe I don't know if I select that. There we go. If you notice that maybe there's something going on with the animal, you can actually attach the video or video right there in the software, and it's right there. And of course, you can see up here where I tagged our vet. And of course, tagging is a way of tracking information as well, kind of like keywords, but it also is useful in getting notifications for when the vet is mentioned. Here I wanted to show you, this is what it looks like when it's complete. You can see this given by Claudia Othman, but it was entered by me. Down here, you can see there's an attachment, and it says Asia Elephant SOP change. A lot of people are always trying to make sure that their staff is held accountable for doing the things that they're supposed to do. Sometimes it's closing duties, which is one of the tasks that we have over here. One of them is also just making sure that if you do have changes, that everyone is up to speed on that. And I've heard from many facilities say, oh, yeah, no problem. You know, I read the SOP, and then they do something. It's like, well, wait a minute, we changed that in the SOP. Well, you said you read it. And it's like, oh, no, I didn't read it. It's like, well, no, I thought you said you read it. Well, here, read the daily and SOP changes. We actually have where it is a task that gets completed. So you can track that information, and it even has a date and timestamp. All right, so we've got notes that you can add here, but let's jump to the heart, the template. We wanted it to be simple to fill out. You can fill it out by animal. If I go down here to the animal, and it's just filling out the form. I can do it by time. If I have some time-sensitive things, they need to be done by a specific time. Or the way that I see most facilities using this, you create a template, and then all the animals that are assigned to the template are going to show up together. So we've got just 2 animals on this template here, and I can just go through and fill it out as simple as tabbing right through here and filling it out. This welfare body condition score might look a little different to some of you that are used to the traditional body score. This is one of the measurements that Dr. Isabella Clegg, who is an animal welfare expert, works a lot with European facilities, and we worked with her in creating some templates. This is an enhancement of one of the templates that Dr. Clegg had created, and this is one of her welfare scores. Because if you're going to develop a scoring system, well, how do you say that emaciated or obese, which one's better, right? Well, they're both equally considered poor welfare. And so she actually uses, you can use a traditional body score, but then you can also use this welfare body condition score that is a point system. So emaciated and obese is 1 point. And ideal, of course, is 3 points. So you certainly don't want to enter in a value that is out of range, because of course that's not going to be great for the animal in their overall welfare if they've got something that's less than ideal. So as you can see, the template is simply a form that gets filled out. It includes many measurement types. And I'll scroll down here. We have a template checklist, which comes in handy for if you want some things that you're just tracking yes, no, as far as maybe something like just showing aggressive behavior. And we have yes, aggressive behavior is one of the things that most facilities you want to know when that takes place, that everyone is aware of it, right? Especially for an animal that doesn't traditionally show aggressive behavior, but there could be seasonal reasons. There can be, maybe it's a pain thing. That can be an indication that animal's in pain or something like that. And so, just a yes, no. But then, of course, if you've got something like aggressive behavior, then we have a note section. Now, one of the things that's built in the note section is you have instructions, which you can see here. There's some instructions. It might be a little bit harder to read there. It's in gray there that tells you what you're supposed to put in here. But you can also create a template so you can have that information right in your template. So please note behavior changes, right? Use hashtags to denote and tag relevant staff. So if I had maybe this animal, this particular animal was displaying aggressive behavior, I could describe the behavior, of course, and And then to alert everyone, well, the hashtags and tagging, as I said, is for notifications. And it's also keywording this note. So if I ever, wrote a big long description here, maybe I even have, say, a video that I attach of the behavior being observed, because you can use your own phone, tablet, whatever to use out in the field, and you can record something and upload it and attach it to this note. Um, Once that is attached here, you'll be able to search for it. But this also creates a notification. So anytime that this hashtag is mentioned, you can have senior management people get a notification. They would actually get an email notification that would have the information from this note in it. Um, you can set that up either to be an immediate thing or just get an end of the day report. And I have found that many times at a facility, not everyone's going to remember every single person that's supposed to be notified for something. If you might have like a behavior specialist, then so yes, we want to make sure they know. But maybe you also need to know, section manager and the curator, and you need to let the swing keepers know. So you can assign notifications for these hashtags. And so these are the note types. And the idea here is that you really can guide your staff into what information you want to be entered each day. Now, anything that's required, I'll scroll up here, has a little red star next to it. Now, of course, you can't force people to fill out information on a form necessarily each day, because there might be some reasons why they're not. But what we can do is you can get a notification when things aren't completed that were required, and then that way you'll be able to track all your information. Now, behind the scenes, what does this look like? Now, the one I'm going to be showing you is actually like a quality of life assessment, which is definitely related to welfare. This first template that I was showing you, the all animal individual welfare template, that is really for your staff to use every single day, because then you can really track trends up and down on how much food they ate, how much food was left, how much exercise they had, all the different values that you may want to track. And they may be just one or two values. There may be no values for some species, or you may have a charismatic, megafauna animal like an Asian elephant, where there's a lot of values that you're tracking. And so those can be tracked every single day, which is something that I would say Dr. Clegg and myself, we talked about, is really going to be your best indicators of welfare. Because if you're just measuring welfare once or twice or three times a year, whatever, that what if you just catch an animal on a bad day and the rest of the year they're fine? Well, if you start tracking some items every single day, I think that you're going to see some trends much better. But of course, you're still going to want to have your veterinary staff together along with maybe supervisors, and you're going to want to have someone do an assessment outside of your animal care staff probably. So here is an example of a template, and this just basic one here that I can set up. And this one actually creates a point system. So if I go in here and, both these elephants, they're very gregarious, they greet the staff when they come in. And of course, you can see as I clicked on that, I probably went a little fast, that there's actually descriptions here for the point system. So if the animals typically have meds, and they typically take all their meds. Now, these are quality of life measurements that have been shared by other facilities with us on some of the things that they track. And so you probably have some things of your own that you'd like to track, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. Now, let me go back to this one here and just show you the description of the engagement reaction. So does not acknowledge staff presence. Of course, with some animals, that may be typical behavior. And so that may not be something that you would see as negative welfare. And I know that a lot of facilities would say that a yes or a no, like a no that an animal doesn't do something or is not provided something, is not always negative if that's something that the animal tends to do better with. So you might see an animal that doesn't necessarily acknowledge staff or engage, but you notice that animal's got a healthy weight, then they eat well and they engage well with enrichment. Well, then for that individual animal that engagement reaction score, that's typical for the animal, right? And so you don't have to be concerned about that score, but that the animal still has great welfare. So this is customizable. These are not things that are set in stone. All the measurements that you're going to see that I'm sharing with you today are not things that are there in the software by default. They're things that are customizable that the facility can add. And we will have coming forward templates that are right out of the box. But anybody that is not currently using the software, Dr. Clegg's welfare template, this individual animal welfare template, we do have a preview of the template that you can start using if you do sign up. And if you want her full template, we do have a way to get you set up on that manually until we actually are able to set it up where everyone can just get it and use it as they want to. So let me go through here and show you some of the features here. I'm just going to enter some values for all these so we can actually show you some results. There we go. Optimal health. And this one's just kind of a yes or no. Animals are not in good state of health, or animals are in. And you may want to use a system much like that, more a yes no as opposed to a scoring system. But that's an individual facility's decision to make, is how much they'd like to track those individual items. Now, these are all considered measurements. And so each one of these things I've been entering in has a point value. Down here might just be something that you want to track trends and see how often, what percentage of a time is an animal doing something. So this checklist, this template checklist, allows you to see like overall trends. So thermoregulation, this is one that was shared with a facility where they track that no animals do not exhibit normal thermoregulation, so they don't move at all into hot or cold different areas, or they do, just a yes or no. And so I'm just going to select yes for both those. All these notes you can enter as is, or they can sometimes have a preset template within there that maybe has some information that what you want to be filled out there. So I'm just going to tag the animal again with just a little test note there. So I'm going to show you the progress for this template, which is right there for your animal care staff to see. If you want great animal welfare, the people that are taking care of your animals, you're going to want them to see this information in real time. Now, there's not a lot of data in here right now because this example is just for these animals, and I've just been setting some stuff up. But I will show you an example here in a moment of a welfare template that does have a lot of data where you can start to see trends. But if I'm scrolling through here, one thing you'll notice is that on some of these, they actually are showing some minimum and maximum. So these are goals. And that's one feature we really feel is important to this welfare module, is being able to establish goals. And the goals can be set for individual animals, or they can be set for a group of animals. Because if you have a juvenile elephant and an adult geriatric bull elephant, well, there of course are going to have sometimes different expectations. You're going to expect a younger, healthy animal to maybe be much more active and spend a lot more time, if you're tracking how much time they're moving and active, their exercise time. Or you may have an older animal where it's typical and normal for them just to not spend as much time, but you still have a goal for how much you want them to be up and moving. So you can see the minimum and maximum. Now there's only 2 values in here because I've only have data for 2 days, but I can actually slide in here a little bit and you'll be able to kind of see our score there, right? But then we have the calculated one. And so here's for this animal, and here's their overall score. So this is actually taking the values from the quality of life assessment that we had up above, and it's actually showing you that this has been done twice, and both times the animal was in their expected range. And if you don't want to, kind of nail down what are the areas that you can improve at, well, that's when you would start to look at the more detailed, granular information, and that would be through this compare button. Now, in order to really kind of give you an idea of what that looks like, though, I think that it's probably much better if I hop over here and show you this data. Now, this data is real world data. It's an example of real world data. And you can see some trends here on this food left is peaking on a fairly regular basis for this animal. So here's the normal range down here. And as I hover, you can actually see the values along there. So this one is 4 kilograms, where normally the animal's eating everything. There's 0, there's a 0.1, right? So that peak. So what is going on in that peak here? Same thing with their food offered. Here's a time where the animal got offered more food. All of these start to show trends. Here's one for lesions, which these are dolphins in this example. And of course, tracking lesions is one way of tracking animal welfare, because it does give you an indication sometimes as how the animal's doing socially and group dynamics. So typically the animal is, if they have lesions, it's from another animal, which involves, some conflict, and it can be minor or major. But you definitely, in certain species, especially cetaceans and dolphins, would be tracking something like that. And of course, here's weight. So let me show you what I was talking about with the compare button here. And I'm going to have to go in and enter in some dates here, because we want to show you some real-time data. And we'll do the range that we were entering in the test data for these animals here. And then we'll go ahead and let's find a couple of values. Oh, so we had the food left. You can see there's those peaks, and you can see that here's Ariel. This is Ariel over here, and this is Chad over here. There we go. Oh, there's the blue line is Ariel, and the red line is Chad. And let's compare that to training. Let's see here. Let's remove Ariel so we have a little bit less to look at. So you can actually see there's a bit of a trend right here. So we notice that there's the food left for Chad, and this has dropped way down here on that same day. So there's the food left, and the purple one here is the training. The training is way down here. So whenever the training drops, the amount of food left went up. And that was an overall trend. And that's actually what they discovered, is that when there was less training with this animal, the animal tended to leave more food, because there's a lot of free forage food where they just throw out fish and they can free forage. And so they noticed that the animal definitely wanted to engage in training. And of course, the comparison button, you can compare values for 2 animals, right? Or you can toggle between and see how things are going. But you can also compare multiple values. Now, for anybody that attended the ZRA workshop that I did, we went over a lot of this then, but I know there's some of you that are here that did not attend that. The idea with this radial graph here is that you can take all of your values and you can start to establish what is normal. So if I uncheck Chad there, this is expected, the expected shape for all of the values. And that's laid over. And you can see a couple places where it's a little bit higher than expected. Now, this average is just that. Eventually, what we see in talking to Dr. Clegg is that instead of having just something that says average, they'll actually have data that has been evaluated by many different facilities, where we start to establish what the shape should look like. Because right now, we still to say which shape is ideal, it's not 100%, and there's even going to be exceptions for animals, which is why when you set up welfare for your animals, you typically want to do it for an individual. Just because one animal is less active doesn't mean that their welfare is any less than the animal that's more active. So let's go to behind the scenes here. And I'm going to take you to the welfare template. Now, again, if anybody wants to log in to the demo site, if you don't have your own live site, I can give you the demo login information. You can go there afterwards and you can play around. Any of our current users, if you don't want to play around with real data and you want to do an example of something, you can also use the demo site to log in and create a scenario that you want to track and test it out without affecting any real data, on the animal. So this is where you set up and create templates, and you can edit them. You can set goals. You can copy a template, because this template up here was created for Asian elephants. But what if all the values that are in this one are things that I'd also like to apply to a tenric or a rock hyrax? Well, sure, rock hyrax is technically kind of related to the elephant, but I don't think you're going to be measuring out how much food you fed a rock hyrax in kilograms. Most likely you're going to be measuring that in grams. So by copying a template, you can use all the same measurement types, that you can go in and customize the units that you want to collect things in. So we have this all animal welfare template that we were looking at before, but I'm going to show you down here this quality of life assessment. All right, so you can have a description of what this is going to be used for, quality of life assessment for the Asian elephants, and it's been assigned to your Asian elephants down here. And here are our scores. Now, some things that are not in here, you probably are not going to want to do this quality of life stuff, maybe every single day, obviously, if it's your veterinarian has to be involved. So if you wanted to do your quality of life assessments on a schedule, what you can do is go ahead and make things like required, and then you can go ahead and assign how often you want to do it. Do you want to do it, monthly, yearly? And if you do monthly here, I can actually select the times. So of course there's today, and then I could add another one that would be for a different date and time, right? So it would be, say, on the 22nd, and we'll do the 11th, right? So that'd be monthly. Or if I wanted to do yearly, I could say, well, here it's October, so we're doing it today, and then we want to do it again in March. And just change the time there. I just want it done by 4 p.m. It's as simple as that. And if you want a reminder, then you can set up a reminder that I'd like to know day before. And it's simple as that. So you'll get reminders for those, and this quality of life engagement measurement will not be on the daily report every day. It'll show up on the day that it's scheduled, which does not mean that you can't add the value. You can add the measurement even on days when this is not there, but it does allow you to put it on a schedule, which I see a lot of facilities as definitely wanting to do. So let's show you an example of adding maybe a measurement type here, because as I said, they're all customizable. So we've got engagement reaction, we have meds, we have mobility scores, which is very important. We have opportunity for optimal health. So add measurement. So we have all these different items that we can add here. You can even add something that's used on a daily basis to this. So if you wanted to make sure that you got a weight on that day, right, in kilograms, we could require that. That's an existing one that we already have in here. Or if we say we'd like to evaluate something that we don't yet have, we can create it. Now, this is an administrative thing. This is not for every single user. So you're certainly able to customize this if you have the administrative rights. And so we're going to do appearance, and we're going to do a custom level here. So the first one that I'm going to do is going to be our lowest score here, lowest point value. And probably many of you have your own definitions that you've come up with. These are ones that I'm borrowing from a facility that shared them with me. And if you're interested in some of these values, I can certainly talk to the facility about whether they would be willing to share their particular quality of life assessment form with you. But they were willing to share their values with me so that we could do a test and give you an example. So here we have lowest to highest. So you have non-reactive, reacts to stimuli, slow to respond, and bright-eyed and alert, right? And so we add that in. That's now a new measurement type. And we have it right there. There's our appearance. Now we have our quality of life score. Well, I've just added a new measurement type for appearance, but that's not in our score here. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to edit my score. And I'm going to say, well, we're adding the scores from the engagement reaction, the meds, right, the mobility, and we want to add in the appearance score. And if you ever want to test out whether your formula works as expected, because this calculated measurement is also used for percentage of food that was eaten. So you can set up a formula where the food offered minus the food left, get a percentage that way. So all it's going to do is give you the test formula here. And of course, if all your scores are expected to be 4s, right? There's a 3, there's a 4, should add up to 15. So for a lot of facilities, they're going to set up their quality of life as usually going to be a couple points within the highest acceptable, maybe allowing 1 point off for 2 or 3 values. You typically don't want to see a point off for every value because that definitely is an indicator, but certainly having a range, say, for a high of 16 of 14 to 16 would certainly be acceptable. So if I've changed my quality of life score, I'm going to save this. And I'm going to go down here, quality of life assessment, to my goals. And the goals are set for all the animals. They all have the same goal. If you want to have individual goals, instead of assigning these quality of life things to a template like we have here that's for a whole group of animals, it's for all the Asian elephants. You can also assign these measurement types to an individual animal and set individual goals. But typically your quality of life stuff is going to be usually the same. And here we've allowed that these values are going to be acceptable if they're 3 to 4 points. And this one is just a yes or no. So let me add for this one an appearance, where we're also going to accept a range. Well, let's see here, slow to respond. I think we'll go a single target there, and we'll make that a 4. That's our desired value. And then of course we've changed our scoring, so we want to change the goal as well. And thermal regulation, you can see you can set a goal for your checklist as well. So that is the goal setting right there. And then for down here, let's go back down just past calculated measurements are our notes. So this quality of life one just has a single note right now. If you want to add more notes, these are all customizable note types as well. And you can also set in to have some pre-populated template notes information in the template. And so whenever somebody goes to add this note, this language appears in the note box along with it. But you can also use that just in the notes and instructions as well. And the notes and instructions appear as a little information icon on the daily report. So if I am working on my daily report for Asia, and I'm entering in a value, say, well, here we'll go to just this one animal's template view here. Here you can see all the measurements that were entered in for the day. And if I wanted to see all of them, I could click on these. And you can see all of them, or you could filter by date range. So here you see one value that says 80, and it's got a little icon. It says values below the goal minimum. Well, part of the reason that is because I've entered food offered, but this animal gets fed twice a day, and we've only entered the morning food in. So this value will remain displayed with kind of a little attention symbol until you've entered the second value over here. So it's supposed to be over 80, and typically this animal gets about 150 kilograms of food. So let's scroll down here. Yeah, here we go. Here's one. So there's tooltips, little information icons that show up on the daily report. So you can have it for enrichment. You can have it for weight. So you can put in values if you have a body score. When you click on something like this, you might also see you could have a body score chart that's available for the user to view right there. That kind of takes the guessing game out of what's supposed to be in that box as well. So another thing you might notice here as we're looking at this animal is that we've got the templates over here that the animal's been assigned. So this animal's assigned to this all animal individual welfare template, and it's also been assigned to the quality of life assessment Asian elephant template. And the template view again is down here. So let's see here. I am going to, for the moment, stop my shared screen here. And I wanted to see if anybody that's on here maybe had a welfare score that they use, or maybe a quality of life assessment score that they use as an example, and maybe we could go ahead and add it in to this example that we're using, and I can show you how you all do that. I see there's a handful of people that are on here that I recognize, and if this is, let's see, I see Erica. Is this Erica from Florida that's on here? And you can unmute yourself, I believe. Yes, thumbs up. Are you talking today, or are you working at the same time?
No, I apologize. I joined late, but
no worries.
I'm just still very confused on the welfare. My big question is, can you apply a template to a group of animals?
Yes, this template down here, this quality of life one, is assigned to the group. So it's assigned to both animals there. Okay. My question for you would be is, do you want to track the measurement as like it's just applies to the whole group, like an enrichment score? You might, if you have 10 animals in a group, you might not be assessing each individual animal's engagement with the enrichment. You might just overall say, yeah, we put it out, it seemed like there was heavy engagement from the group of animals, and you're giving a group score there. If you're doing that, that's a good question, actually. What you would want to do is actually assign it as a section measurement, because it applies to everybody in the section instead of an individual animal. But if you want the score to also be related to the individual as well as the group, then it does need to be entered in. And now we are working on some enhancements where you could take and select a score and have it apply to all the animals, but that's not a feature yet. That is feedback that we have gotten from some of our users so far. So let's see here. I think that
because when I've tried to use the animal welfare, I mean, I was really more or less using it for diet consumption. So like the food offered versus what the food was left over. But when I applied it, it applied it to each. I'll use squirrel monkeys. I have 6 squirrel monkeys, and it would force me to annotate it for each individual monkey. Whereas I feed my squirrel monkeys as a group, and I just wanted to be able to track what was being left over as a group whole, and I couldn't figure out how to make that work.
Right. So then it would be you'd create this section, like this group enrichment down here that we have for all the animals in the North America, like the penguin section here, which is kind of funny. I don't know why the penguins are assigned to North America, right?
Hey Dave, can you share your screen?
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen here. So let me pull this up. And so I'm back on the welfare management under administration here, and I have a template that is called group enrichment right here that's assigned to North America penguin. And so if I go over here, to North America, and then we're going to go to penguins here. I'll just go to the template view. That'll be a quick way. Let's see here. Well, this is assigned to all of them. I grabbed the wrong example. I apologize, Erica. What you do is you create a section, template, and then you would assign it to the group, right? And so if we did, let's see here, our Asian elephants there.
Sorry to interrupt, Dave, but you could also set up for animal, and then you can choose by animal group too.
Yes, well, she's talking about doing a single measurement for the entire group. So this would be a measurement that applies to all of the elephants, just one single score.
Okay.
So therefore, it would be for a section one. And let's see here if I've got an enrichment one here. There we go. Enrichment, and this one is not not one of the custom ones there. I wonder if I have more than one there. I'll show you how I did that. So this is a section measurement. We'll just make it a simple one. And then once I've added that, I can save that. And then now it should show up on our Asia section. As a single score. So that would track it for the entire group. And you could have also down here, you could add in an enrichment, there it is, enrichment note for the group. In your notes, by the way, if you're trying to put in a note and you want to make sure that everyone knows that it's for the group, you can always tag the section as opposed to just tagging an individual animal. So here I can tag the Asian elephants, or you can also, if you've created and assigned groups for the Asian elephants, then I could assign it to the animal group Asian elephants as well. There's the animal group, if I wanted to track this that way. So Erica, does that answer your question?
I think I'm gonna have to play with it, but I mean, you made an actual like scores like 1, 2, and 3. What I was meaning, because I'm trying to track diets better in a template, and maybe templates just aren't meant to be used as much for diets, because there's an option that you can say, there's 10 grams left over of the offered 15 grams. So can it still be used in a group or in a section setting in that manner?
So you're feeding the animals as a group?
Yes, I'm feeding them as a group, and I want to be able to track what's left over at the end of the day.
Gotcha. It would be similar, right? So if we go back down here, and we can use the elephants, because you may offer some food that's just given to all the elephants and you don't know who's individually eating, right? So for that example, I'm just gonna, let's see here. I'm gonna go down here since I already had this, or is it up here? Where is it here? Here we go. And we're just gonna call this, so this will be all the group measurements that we want to track. So we've got our group enrichment score. And so if we wanted to do what you're talking about here, what we do is we'd add in, so we'll do mass for that. And we'll leave it in kilograms. And then we can do, add another one. So there's our food offered and our food left. And so then we can go down here and do a calculated score. And we'll add one. We'll do food group consumed, and we'll just do, let's see here. Group food offered minus group food left. Fairly straightforward. Let's see here. There we go. And then you can put in, so once I save this, so then you can set your goal here for the group. So you might not have a food offered or food left goal, but you might have one down here for group food consumed on how much you wanted to track, what the range should be there. And it might be, so in our example, it might be anywhere from, if we had just 2 elephants, it might be, say, 200 to 300 consumed or something. And so that would be your target. And maybe you do offer one here for a range, or maybe you just want to make sure that everybody's feeding at least, say that's what you're feeding. Well, let's make it a little less there. we're offering 350 kilograms of food each day. That's how much you're supposed to be entering in. That, or it might be a range where you're not going to be exact, so 325 to 375. So you could actually set those values as well. And same thing with food left. So you might have a range of, say, 0 to maybe accept 100. Well, my range of food consumed would be 100, and minimum would be 200, right? So there's our range there. So yes, you could set up so you get the group value for like the food offered and food left. Is that what you're looking for?
I think so. I'm playing around with it as you go. I think my issue was I only went to animals before and I didn't see the section or whatnot. So I'm just going to play around with it a little bit more, but that helps for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we see with trying to create this tool. Yeah, you don't really see anything like this out there, because there's a lot of moving parts to setting up something like this for tracking the overall welfare of an animal and having all these customizable scores, possibly having a scoring system, and then setting goals. And so we knew when we started working on this that that the administrators and anybody that you give permission to at your facility to set up these templates, that's where we're going to spend a lot of our time in support. Because once we figure out how to get it set up to meet your needs, your staff is not going to have to think about this. All they're going to do when they log in each day is they're going to go to their daily report for Asia, and they're going to fill out all of your templates that you have set up for the day. And so there's not going to be any question of what information do you want them to collect. Elephant group measurements, right? Here's our group measurements for elephants. Food offered. Got someone joining us here. Food offered 350. And the food left, right? Well, they only left say 50 kilograms. And if I go down here to section and my Asian elephants, and then we can see the measurements there. And so here's our food left and our food offered. So this is a top range and this is the lower range. Here's our food offered that's right in range. And then of course, here's our food, group food consumed, and it's right at the top end of the range where we want them to be. So you'll be able to track that up and down as you go. And really that's what people are going to be looking for, is the kind of that immediate feedback. That's a lot of what I have heard is that from the people that care for the animals each and every day, is that, well, I enter in like this data and that data, but then I don't ever hear anything, or we only find out that, hey, you should have been doing this, like after they've been doing something for 3 or 4 months. Whereas if you could start to see this trend, is you're giving all this food, your staff is putting out 350 kilograms, these giant rolls of hay, and they're spoiling, going bad, and the animals aren't eating it, but the animals are at a healthy weight. Well, then obviously you're overfeeding the animals. You should adjust that. I've seen this with my own staff over the years. I'll come in one day, I've been busy, and they'll tell me, it's like, yeah, can we stop giving this animal like, sweet potato? And I was like, okay, well, why do you want to stop giving it sweet potato? Well, they never eat the sweet potato. And I was like, okay, well, have you been putting that in the notes? And it's like, well, no. It's like, okay, well, you got to let somebody know that they're not eating that. But then they'll say, well, I just, I noticed that. And so how do you start tracking that? So putting the things in that you do want to track, they're going to help you in a lot of ways track the welfare, make decisions on food items, whether they should be included or not. You might not track those all the time. The nice thing is as you've seen, well, I've already edited this Asian elephant template a couple times, and so there's a score that I'm no longer tracking. I can just take it off the template. the score stays there. It doesn't go anywhere. It's still a score that's associated with the animal. It just no longer appears in the template, because I can go to the section view here anytime I want for these Asian elephants. And here's the Asian elephants for their group scores here. Here's all their group scores, or the individual scores for the animal here. And I can go down here and I can add in, even separate from the template, any measurement that I have. So you got something that you don't have all the time, like blood cortisol test, right? It's not on the template, but you can add it for the animal. And it's right there as far as adding measurements. And, of course, you can put it on your template if you want to. So the idea is that the templates can change as needed over time. Let's see here. Ted, welcome. I noticed that you joined a little bit late, so sorry if you missed the beginning. So I know that we were just going over kind of like tracking some group stuff. Ted, you're joining us to anything that you're looking for right now as far as how to use the welfare templates.
Thank you. Apparently, I must have missed the. Did you start an hour ago?
Yeah, we started at 2 p.m. Central Time, and yeah,
My calculation went wrong.
No worries. One thing that's a bit confusing these days, as I found in talking to Dr. Clegg, who's based in Australia currently, is that trying to figure out what time it is in other parts of the world is nearly impossible when you get to the fall and the spring, because there's so many different countries that changed their clocks, and it doesn't line up with like summer solstice or winter solstice, which would make it easy if we all did that. It's I think Australia changed their clocks like 2 weeks ago, and here in the US we're not set to change our clocks I think until the end of next week. So sorry you missed the beginning, but I'm certainly more than happy to share with you anything. I am recording the workshop as well, and I will make the workshop, the recording, available and send you the link to that. So I apologize if you missed anything, but certainly anybody that's on here now, this is kind of the time that I'd reached for answering questions, like taking examples from all of you, things that you'd like to track, and showing how you could do it in the software. And maybe for the development team, and some of them have joined as well, is if there's something that we're not currently tracking, I'd like to hear that as well, because there are things that we still have in development to add to the welfare module, but there may be some things that we just have not considered because you have a unique situation at one of your facilities out there.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. My goal here is to kind of just be part in the background and observe and kind of absorb as much as I can. I've not worked yet with the software or like Elin has here at Kolmården. So I just wanted to be part of this, being able to ask any questions, but no particular specific example or question right now. Okay,
so yeah, so you're from Kolmården, and that's what I thought. And I know that they are going to be using Dr. Clegg's welfare template. And actually, I have that pulled up here. Let's see here. Is that where it was? I believe that I had it pulled up here somewhere. Oh, here we go. And so her template actually has 16 values that you all are going to be using. We're going to be manually putting all those values in for you all to track. And once we have them in there, even then, you all may end up tweaking them a little bit in how you want to use all of them, because you may decide to use them for some smaller animals. And so this is the all the values that are up here that include things like anticipatory behavior. I think that I believe that I mentioned that you can put in some body score images. And so here's one that's 1 to 5. I believe this is one that has the graphic on it. And this will open up in another window. Here we go, where you'll actually, the staff would be able to pull up this image here. And sorry, it's very large on the screen. Let me reduce it down just a hair. Where they could pull this up. And right now, this is the traditional chart that most facilities see, is kind of the generic chart. But what we hope is that eventually, you'd be able to put in images of the specific animal. So when they're at their ideal weight, when they get that perfect body score, where you can take some pictures, side views and top views of the animal, and that's the individual animal. Because animals, much like people, it's like, yeah, we see general shapes, but there might be a shape between these two right here where, yes, this is usually ideal, but we notice that this animal's overall attitude and behavior and a lot of other things that affect welfare, right? That when this animal's a little bit heavier, the animals, a lot of their scores are all higher. And that's, similar to people. It's like some people do much better as far as if you wanted to call it the happiness score, right? Not a real score, but we'll use that as an example. That some people are much happier when they are fit and trim and they have a very low, BMI. And then there's some people that are much happier when they've got an extra 10 pounds. It doesn't mean that they're unhealthy having those extra 10 pounds. It doesn't mean the person that's maybe slightly underweight is not perfectly happy and healthy and their welfare is great. So we do have to consider the individual. So we foresee that having these little information things could be used that way. And here's an example of, I thought, no, that one wasn't one. But that's just an example of how you can use these little tool tips right here. And then, of course, you'll also be seeing the overall trends. And this is something that I was showing earlier, where we put in the date range that we want to look at. And this is based on some test data. Yes, I have a very protective computer here. It doesn't like to take any chances. Every once in a while. There we go. And while I'm pulling this up, if there's anybody else on here, it's Beth and I think Catherine, and if anybody has any questions, please unmute yourself or raise your hand or something, and feel free to ask some questions. I really want this part of the workshop to be a little bit more interactive and maybe get some real world examples of stuff that you all are looking to try and find solutions for.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
One thing that probably a good idea is to go over the notification subscription. There's 2 notification for welfare, so you can get a email summary, a daily email summary, whether about your welfare, whether you're out of range or you're missing something.
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I'm pulled up on this one here, so I can show it here. So what Trendy's talking about is whenever you see things like the person mentioned, or more likely some of these hashtags that are in here, you can go in and set up notifications. And you can set them up as an administrator globally, so you can assign who is going to receive these updates. Or as an individual, you can set up notifications that you want. So this is an administrative view. And so these are all of the notifications that I can get sent. So anytime that we have welfare reminders, everyone can get the reminder, or you can actually turn that on and off. And so if I scroll down here, Friendy, right, this would be.
There's another one under welfare, on the drop down. You can choose a welfare daily summary.
And then you can select users or like a role, right? So sometimes it's easier just to say, yeah, I want all my curators, section curators, and section managers to get it. And then I also want, to assign a user, an individual user. And so this will automatically set that up for them to all get a welfare daily summary. And Friendy, I'm not sure if I change, no, I can't change that to real time. That's just a daily summary. I don't have one of the examples in my email box right now. I don't know if you have one that you could either email to me and I can share, or if you want to share your screen, if you have an example of one one and how it looks.
Let me try to find one. I don't have one too.
But for everybody that's observing here, this will send out a daily summary of your welfare, so that it's almost like a detailed report of all those measurements and scores that are on kind of like the welfare templates there, and you can actually see when things are out of range and when they're not.
Okay, I just forwarded you one, but this is quite old though. But the idea is pretty similar. So
Let's see here.
it's just a sample.
And you send it to
Your email, the AnimalCare email.
gotcha. Oh, I don't need everyone to see my email. Let me pull that up here separately, and then I'll. So, anybody else here? Let's see. Erica is still on here, and Ted. Sarah, hello, Sarah. I hadn't said hello earlier. Any questions at all as I pull this up so I can show you what one of them looks like?
I'm actually quite interested in specifically a summary function like that being sent to me, kind of being one of the key roles responsible for animal welfare and the development of animal welfare, but maybe not as much as the zookeepers everyday work with animal welfare. In direct contact with animals. So for me, this is particularly relevant, how I could maybe as the zoologist of the park receive this daily or monthly or what so that would be a question, I guess. What are there other like summary like functions or notifications?
Well, and I think that's kind of the feedback that we're looking for is what other reports facilities need, and then also, like you just brought up, something that maybe didn't occur to us is how often is this a report that you would want to be able to generate manually as well, as opposed to having it generated just by email, and set it on a schedule to get it on a monthly basis or weekly basis. Or would you even want to see things just that are maybe out of range or missing for animals, so that you don't need to see all the stuff that's normal? Any kind of detailed information like that you can share with us is definitely what we're looking for as far as feedback.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, hold on here. I think I've got to. No, it's not displaying all my images. I should open it up on Gmail instead.
Take a look at the second email I forwarded to you. I think this is a little bit newer one.
Let's see here. There we go. This one here. Oh, there we go. Is that what you're talking about, Friendy?
Correct.
So yeah, this is an example then. And of course, I imagine there's a lot of stuff that's missing because we're not actively all entering in fictional data every day. So the goal above or below threshold, so you can get these kind of reports in here, right? Yeah, and see here's minimum 2 items checked, and there were 0 items checked.
Yeah, this is quite an old email, but the new one shouldn't have this problem though. So
gotcha. So yeah, that's the notification so that you can set up here, and you can do it globally. You can also do it throughout the software where you can subscribe. Something else that, of course, that is a feature that I really like is being able to search by hashtags or to see like trends of things, but really being able to pull things up, especially for your photos and videos. You know, when you're entering these in, the idea is that you can enter in a value at any time, any place, like on an animal, and then if I want to see like all the videos of the animal, I can pull them up right from the hashtag search. And I don't know how this video will play, but you can also embed all these videos right into the notes section. I'm actually fascinated to see how well the video downloads and plays on my computer. And for anybody that attended the ZRA workshop, thank you for coming to this one, because I definitely had some technological challenges. I live in a rural area, and so definitely had some challenges there. And one thing I've discovered with Zoom is that video is maybe doesn't work so well to share necessarily, because it tends to be a bit stop motion, which I imagine that's how it looks to all of you. And then we also have, I believe this is kind of a recent feature too, where you can see trends in certain hashtags. When they're mentioned. And so there's the most recent one. We had an alpaca with aggressive behavior, but you can see trends in aggressive behavior from the hashtag search as well. And this is another area that we're looking to get feedback from on what would be very useful for actually kind of tracking and viewing the use of like your tags and hashtags. Friendly, for anyone that's on here, is one of our lead developers. And what's your official title, Friendly? I just say I'm Dave.
I'm Friendly.
Yes. But yeah, Friendly is one of our lead developers on this, and so you know, definitely that Friendly would tell you that a lot of what you see here, I would say a good portion of it is all been built based on feedback from our tenants, from our facilities and users, and letting us know what's working, what's not, what they'd like to see added. You know, we've always got the feedback button here. So if anybody on here has not signed up for the software to use it, you know, let me know. As I said, we do have the ability to for you to try it out for free. And if I haven't given it already, here actually, I think maybe the best way to do is copy it like that. There we go. So that is the link to the demo site. That is the login to use. And that is the password to use. So you all can copy and use that and test things out for yourself. If you want to do a real trial though, just contact me and I will assist you in setting up your free trial, and so you can do a real world test of the software. And just in case any of you have joined that do not have my email, that is my email. And if anyone is on here and in the US or don't mind making an international call, here, I think this is how it looks for the international users. I'll put that in there, the +1. That is my cell phone that's in my pocket. So for a lot of you that have been using the software and your administrators, you may know that for the administrators, anybody I talk to, if they don't have my cell phone number, I give it to them. And so I am available to be support anytime you need it. And Ted for Comarden over there might be a little bit more of a stretch as far as making a phone call, but certainly with the technology today, to do a Zoom call, Zoom meeting, any of that is pretty easy to use. And of course, I'm also on a lot of the WhatsApp and things like that some people use for using the web-based calls, Skype.
Thank you. It's great.
All right. Does anybody else out there have any questions? It's like I'm looking through here. If anybody has any specific examples, Erica, I know that you're always really good. You've got a lot of diverse background and experience in tracking stuff. Of anything that you can think of that might be something you're looking for a solution for.
Not right now. I'm just super excited that I figured out how to use a welfare template just for diets. So I've been doing that since you were talking. Because I think diet tracking is my biggest thing right now. I mean, I stand by what you're doing for enrichment and a lot of welfare stuff, but my zookeepers are still very green in what they're doing. So I'm still working on getting them through the basics. So I'm still a little bit more rudimentary, and this is a little higher level than where I think they can handle right now. But I really am interested in the body condition scoring tracking, because I'm trying to teach them the importance of knowing their BCIs and knowing how to BCS something. So I think that's going to be really good to be able to upload and give them better images so they can kind of track that better. So I think I'm going to start using that a little bit more.
Well, and something that you might consider doing as well is because, we are working on a nutrition module for tracking diets and, be able to track diet changes and do it seasonally and on a schedule. And that is something that I've talked to, a couple of nutritionist specialists in the field. But the template does actually bring up kind of a unique way of tracking that if you use it for like your sections. And the way that I would see doing it is, I'll go back to this elephant example here of the group one, is you might have for, in this case, like an entire section that you want to use something for as far as your diets, a combination of maybe tracking some specific diet items, but also tracking, let's see here. Let's see, is this where, no, I was on the QA one, I bet. There we go. There we go. There's our elephants. Is because you can put that little tooltip in there for notes.
Can you go back to showing your screen?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Thank you. There we go. So here I'm back on this this group template for the elephants here, and if I've got a note for diet, and this is for the group, keep in mind, is it under the notes instructions? You could actually attach. Well, these are pictures of enrichment. Here's an enrichment calendar. Well, I'll just attach this one for as an example. You could have all of your current diets in a PDF or a note and then attach it there. So if you wanted them to have basically like the diet cards, so they know what the animals are supposed to be getting fed, then that's going to be something that when they click on that tooltip, that'll be available for them to click on and open. So it's not
So
quite.
I think that's I like that. That's a good feature. And I think once I learn better how to use these templates, and then I mean, I've already, since you've been talking, tasked one of my keepers to, you know, see if it works tonight when he goes to do logs. My question is, so obviously diets for animals change, you know, seasonally, yearly, and, you know, for all animals. So currently how we're tracking our diets, you know, on the first of every month, I have my zookeepers upload a photo of what the diet board looks like. And so that I know if I need to say, like, man, what was my bear eating, you know, this time last year? So we know where we need to up him because we're going into winter. I can go back. So is there a way on this new system so that it'll save, you know, month by month or day by day, rather than it saving over the most current document? Or do I still have to kind of continue to do what I'm doing by saving on like the first of the month to be able to go back and track previous diet cards?
You can have multiple attachments in here too. So you could name them, you know, spring, fall, summer, whatever, or by date. The other thing, of course, that you could do in here, because obviously I can click on this and open this. This might be your current one, right? And it would open up the PDF by clicking on it. But if they're taking pictures of your diet board, just have them start, you know, add a hashtag for it. And then for, you said what, at bears? Well, we'll just say at the elephants here. So if you wanted to go back and look for it. So, and then you attach the photo of your board, just your image of the board, right?
So then when you just search, it just would bring up all of those.
So then you'd be able to pull up all of the photos. If you didn't want to have to retype the entire board, you just wanted to be able to refer back to it and look at it, as opposed to having it in a document. Yeah, then all you'd have to do is then go over to your hashtags there. And what did I call that hashtag? Diet board, I think.
Yeah.
So if you use something like that, so when you do hashtag diet board, you would see every time that's used. So it might be elephants and bears and prairie dogs, and it might be all of your pictures of all of your diet boards, and then you could narrow it down. Or you could even have, you know, instead of just hashtag diet board photo, you could break it up by season, you know, and create 4 hashtags, one for each season, right? And then, or you could just search like this one. If you had 5 different pictures of diet boards for your elephants, right? Then just search for the group as well. Yeah, the elephants there that I tagged. Does that kind of help with what you're thinking of?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. The hashtags are really meant to free up this idea of information, just, you know, like it's here or it's there. The idea is that with the hashtags, if you are consistent with using hashtags or tagging animals or whatever, that it doesn't matter where you put the information in the software. It could be in the animal inventory, medical records, daily reports. You can add tags and hashtags to measurements. When you add a measurement, that you can find them anywhere. So every time the animal is ever mentioned anywhere in the software, you can find them, and then narrow down your search simply by adding additional hashtags. So here's the elephant, and then if I want to just look at their training scores, and just when they did excellent, well, there's every time that they did a training session with the elephant where he had an excellent score. And I used myself, I've used hashtags for all sorts of things, tracking the education programs that I do with the animals. You know, like that way I can look and see, like, well, how many times did the turkey vulture, how many times was he in a program? Each time I did a program, I would use the hashtag program animals, and then I would tag each of the animals that was in like a program by date and put where I did it. And actually I'm able to go back and review all that stuff and look at it later, which really comes in handy for reporting with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Of course, I could also enter in a measurement for that. So and maybe I should show everyone that's on here what I was talking about as far as tagging an animal in a note. That's something that is, I think, that we do that's very unique that you're not going to find out there, is if you wanted to, let's go to our elephant example. If I added a measurement over here and I had a like a quality of life, see here. Is that I put in something that's slow here, and I can, this is a concern. The animal normally responds pretty quickly. So this is a measurement, but here I'm tagging the vet in this note. It's like, okay, you know, this is unusual for the animal. And then if I took a video of the animal, in this case as well, I could attach the video. And that's saved along with that measurement. So it's a lot of information that can be stored, you know, and that's anywhere. And then if I'm searching for, you know, a particular thing, I can find all this just with the tags and hashtags all the times that the vet's been mentioned. I can even go in here, of course, and edit it. If I wanted to add some things to it. What I encourage anybody that's an administrator for their facility that's a current user on the software is that if you have some things that you're trying to track, just to set up a meeting with me and we can go over, you know, if you just start writing down like little notes, it's like, I'd like to track this, I'd like to collect this, what's the best way to do it? I'm more than happy to go over that, because I feel that once all of you have a handle on how this can be used, then you're going to be able to set up things to fit your facility and be able to tailor it much better. And hopefully, therefore, I really do believe, Eric, I know that it's like a lot for like staff sometimes to think about, like, well, what are they supposed to be entering in? But if they're looking at something just like a single animal to fill out their information, well, this is what you're asking them to fill out. All the things that are in red are required things. Anything that's not in red is something that's considered optional. And they don't have to think about, you know, what items are going to be entered in. They're just checking off. It's like training, yet performed without hesitation. Did we do our testing today? No, we didn't do our testing today. Where did they have access today? They had access to yard A, yard B, and stall 2. Enrichment, right? You got the boomer ball and the log. And of course, that shows up because there's 2 items required each day. Very good. Anybody else have questions? I really want to make sure that I give you all a good look at the welfare. I'm more than happy, of course, if you have questions about other areas of the software, to go over anything you might have questions there on how to use various features. But the welfare module and the welfare templates was kind of like the focus for today. Let's see if I can see everyone that's on here. What I hope to do with the workshops is, as we roll out features, is to go ahead and do a few more of these on a more regular basis, and to record them, to share with them. This one I'll probably edit down a little bit before I publish it, just so that it takes out some of the downtime. So Ted, if you missed anything, I'll try to go ahead and edit out a little bit of anything there where there was silence or I'm working on something, so that you don't have as much downtime of just staring at the screen to review this. But most of what we were covering was at the beginning. But I'm more than happy, like I said, to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. I look forward to taking part in these regularly. I think it's a great opportunity to ask questions directly and learn from the users and from your experience point of view. We, for you that don't know, we're like interested in this software and are kind of asking questions to each other about how this would work in everyday care with animals. And for me, as being responsible some in the part for all the animals, and how this can work practically. And we have like different questions that came up quite recently. And one example is how well this works. Obviously, it works well for many carekeepers and facilities and institutions, but like, how time-consuming is this part of the carekeeping? Like, can you use this with a smartphone even, or is it something that you have to take notes of and kind of then enter? Or what's your experiences?
You can log in from a phone or a tablet. It works just as well from those. And as a matter of fact, I know that for a lot of facilities, that's how most of their users are entering data. We have one facility that I know that had bought just several iTouches, which were basically iPhones that would only work with Wi-Fi. And their staff checks out walkie-talkie, and they check out one of the iTouches, and then they use the iTouch to take pictures and video. And they have Wi-Fi throughout their facility. They invested just a little bit of money just to broadcast their Wi-Fi signal so that staff could get clear access to it. And so anytime they left an enclosure, they would just go ahead and put their notes in right there during the day. I would say that we wanted to make it simple to fill out. That form is really just a straightforward form. We talked to a couple facilities where they were involved in managing some welfare, and they were telling us that it would take them an hour or 2 hours to fill out all the paperwork that they had, and then they wouldn't have any instant feedback on it, which clearly is a challenge, because if you do have a welfare issue going on, you don't want to let it go for a month or 2 months. That's clearly going to be a problem at a month time. I mean, the animal, as you know, animals try and hide a lot of the issues that they might have going on anyways. If they're not feeling well, they don't necessarily want to show the weakness, so they try and hide it. So if your staff is not seeing a trend over a pretty short period of time, over a month, the animal may be dead by then if it had something serious going on. And so they really stressed that it had to be quick and easy to fill out. And I find that, let's see here if I can share my screen again. And then maybe kind of give you an idea a little bit. Try and get rid of the backgrounds there. There we go. Try and make it look as much like a iPhone screen as I can right there. So the menu bar disappears at the top and then it ends up right there. That's how it would look on your phone as well to navigate to the different daily reports there. There's my aquarium right there, which I'm already on. And then to, let's see here. And then to fill it out, it's just simply a matter of scrolling through the page as opposed to having it as wide, right? I can just go down here to my template or my animal and well, this is the ones we're using quite often for the dolphins here, and then enter in their scores there. And that it would just look like that on their phone.
Yeah, I think it's very practical.
Right, and the nice thing is with the customizable measurements is that you can put in descriptions for like this repetitive behavior score, you know, that you can put in here, you know, some definitions of what moderate ARB is, because especially with new staff, you know, when you're trying to train them in, it's kind of hard to train for every scenario if something's not occurring all the time. But if the animal normally does not pace, right, and all of a sudden you notice that, well, the animal's pacing and it's not related to food or anything like that, and that they have this excessive their excessive repetitive behavior, well, then tying that to other things, and since you're going to be signing up for Dr. Clegg's thing here, let's see here, I believe, if I go down here, is that we did, she did put in a value here for visitor presence. Is visitor presence influencing this? There's heavy visitor presence, or is there maintenance construction going on? So yes, there is, and the animal's locked in the back. So, well, okay, well, that's the only time you see this excessive, this ARB score so low is on days when you have high visitation, the animal's locked in back. It's like, okay, well, we need to give the animal access if they're doing maintenance in the back or something, if possible, unless there's a safety reason to not. And if that is an issue where the animal has to be locked in back, well, maybe then you try and schedule, to give the animal some enrichment at that time in the back area, or maybe you work on some just kind of like training, or what I like to think of as just bonding time, where you're just kind of like hanging out with the animal. That's something that I found that a lot of times you don't have time for at most facilities, to where you're just sit and quiet with an animal. And when I went to school, the school that I went to in California, there was a lot of relationship building that we did with animals, and some of it involved literally just sitting quietly with an animal. So if you have an animal that's got some excessive anticipatory behavior, sometimes it might actually comfort the animal to have the person there that they do trust, which is animal care staff, or maybe it's it's another member of their group, a conspecific or something like that. And so I think that that's what you're looking for in, like, when you do track all these scores, is what's the purpose. The purpose is obviously to measure welfare overall, but it also helps to see trends. Why didn't this animal eat? And I think that was one of the things that I was going to show you, is the example that we had. And I think maybe actually I'd shown you that one before, Ted, where you can see when the animal did not have a training session, that it left more food. And there was a correlation between training sessions and how much food the animal was leaving.
Yeah, rings a bell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I see. Oh, those are all me, I think, on the chats. There we go. So any other questions or comments? or equipment, as they say.
Looks good, Dave.
Brandy, anything to add?
No, I think you covered it well.
So going forward, if you have any thoughts or questions, please share them with us. And I know that our team, Brandy, and the whole team are working really hard at continuing to add enhancements, add features, and we will be responsive if we discover any bugs or problems. We always jump on those right away. But I'm very excited about where we're going with this, and the feedback that I've gotten from those that do research welfare can see the potential this has, but that it's only going to be as useful as a tool as we can make it based on the feedback that we get from the people that are evaluating the welfare. So if there's something that we're missing, that we're not including, not using, like I said, please let us know. It's something that we definitely want to try and find solutions for, to make really the care of animals and human care, wherever those animals happen to be, whether they be exotics or domestic animals. We really want the quality of life to be as high as possible, and we want to be able to show the general public, which doesn't always understand what we do, that we make these efforts. And I think that really allows them to value zoos and aquariums and all the different facilities even more than they do right now, because sometimes it's a challenge. They don't understand. All they see is that the animal can't necessarily roam free, and they don't always understand also that, well, yeah, what is a wild place? There's a lot of the wild that's no longer there as we'd expect it to. And so in a lot of cases, we're trying to make sure that we connect people to the natural world so that they want to protect it, and with a goal that through breeding programs and conservation efforts in situ and ex situ, that we're all on the same page as far as trying to protect animals in the wild, but we also want to make sure that we preserve them for future generations. All right. Well, I think that's it for me for today. I guess we had a little extra time for questions. So especially for Erica and Ted still on here, if you do think of something else that you want to ask after this, please feel free to contact me, and I will let you all know when we do another one. I want to try and do more, because I also know that there were people that definitely wanted to come to this one, that, hey, when you work with animals, things come up, and the animals come first. And so I'm going to try and schedule these a little bit more often, and also, work on my own presentation skills, find out what's most important to all of you. So any feedback you have for me on today's workshop, please feel free to share that as well. But thank you all very much for joining me today. And if you have any questions, comments, Dave at AnimalCareSoftware.com.
Thanks, Dave. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching this how-to video. Please contact me with any comments or questions, or if you'd like to set up training for your facility, you can reach me at dave@animalcaresoftware.com.